It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
All right.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Doomcast number 29. It's the 23rd day of February 2014. My name is Doug Owen. I'm joined, of course, by our co-host, Charlie McGrath. The website is Doomcast.com. We have made it back once again with another late Sunday night show. It's been an exciting weekend in our personal lives. And, of course, we have the Olympics. We have the Ukraine, new governments.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, man?
First of all, you're stealing my show. I'm 29. I'm the host of 29.
What?
Let's get that straight right now. You did 28.
Man.
Stepping all over me.
Sorry.
Sorry, man. You got a good reason why. And you're right. It is this Doomcast. First of all, look at me, folks. If you are, this is going to be a personal Doomcast. It's going to be about Doug. It's going to be about what he's got going on, and it's going to be about Charlie and what I have going on. I don't know how much news stuff there, as far as hitting the news, Doug, we're going to get to. I mean, obviously, you're more than welcome to go whichever way you want. But we had a very, very, very interesting weekend. This Doomcast is all going to be about new life and near-death experiences. That's what we're going to talk. That's what my goal is to talk about tonight. And I'm going to start it off with the most important news of the weekend. The most important news, actually, in my co-founder, Doug Owen's, not weekend, but in his life, the most important event just occurred. And I want to congratulate, I've announced it a couple times on my radio program and on a video that I put out last night that I do want to talk about in a little bit. But they are the proud owners of a little baby doomer, little bitty Mason Doomer. Owen is now amongst us on this planet Earth. Congratulations, Doug Owen.
You know his name's not Mason, right? I don't want people thinking there's a grand. And thank you for congratulating me. And
yes, M-A-S-E-S.
No. And don't say it. We're just going to call him Baby Doomer. That's it.
Baby Doomer. Okay. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, we're just going to go with that for the moment.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Sorry, my bad.
I'll figure out something later. I mean, because he has a very distinct name, so it's very rare. And not that it's rare. It's actually very popular in Wales. It's one of the most popular names on the Isle over there, the Isle of Manx, but not so much here. So I think I can fall with Douglas Owen. I can fall into the digital matrix. There's like 20 of them right in the same county that I live. It's a very popular name. So,
right.
But if you have a pretty distinct name, so
anyway,
anyway,
I see what you're doing. How about we just call him Doomer Jr.
Doomer Jr. I like it. Yeah. It'll work. I don't know what his mom will think.
DJ Jazzy Jeff, the Doomer Jr. Tell me a little bit about Little Doomer Jr. How much did the little guy weigh?
5'11", little guy.
Little guy.
We were expecting a big guy, and we thought he was going to, go right through all those onesies and all of these, outfits that we had that people had given us. You know how it goes. And you're like, these things are going to be irrelevant. You're not going to need them. And lo and behold, they are engulfing him. So, but healthy, went splendidly well. We didn't do it in a hospital. We did it with midwives at a birthing center.
I do. And here's the deal, Doug. If I start talking about something like I already have that you do not want out on Doomcast, you need to just jump in because I think I know the parameters of safety protocols that we're using here. I knew you had given me permission to congratulate you and the missus on this. I have said his name. Maybe I'll go back and delete.
Well, I'm glad you said it was Mason. Now everybody's going to create a.
Okay, I did. Okay, I'm
Why
saying.
Why would Doug Owen name his child Mason? So I like that. That's funny. It's a faux pas.
Mason. But I knew that the missus was using a midwife to deliver
a team
said
of
baby.
them. It's pretty wild.
A team of midwives.
Yeah, we didn't do it at the house. We went to an actual birthing center.
Any hot midwives in that team?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. It was well worth it.
Well paid. It's you know what? None of them were from here. Every one of them was flocking to the area because of so much growth. But very popular. Big.
What do you mean? Did they live here now, or did you fly them in special?
No, they live here now. I'm just saying that the migration of midwives because of the demand, and I think that the renaissance of people wanting to go with more traditional, natural, non-medicated, non-pharmaceutical, non-hospital childbirth, and that doesn't mean doing it in a tub necessarily, but it's an option. or doing it at home, and that's what a lot of people feel. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to. I just wouldn't want to have a child in my shower. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, kind of like, oh, that's my shower. Yeah, no.
Not unless I had a garbage disposal on the drain, because there's some stuff that comes out afterward that has to be disposed of.
So, but yeah, I actually mentioned it on my podcast, and the response that I got was great, because so many questions that I think to-be or people that are flirting with the idea of having children, posed to me, and so this is probably one of the most popular topics. Well, and it is going to be Doug Owen. You know what? I have been a dad for in a few days 14 years. Of his 14 years, 2 years and 10 months, he lived with Dad exclusively. So I've spent the last 12 years raising a son. Now before that goes out there, like I'm some kind of one-man band, that couldn't be further from his truth. His mother and myself are very close still. We're friends still. She lives 100 miles away. So we needed a primary home to keep him in, and circumstances being what they were, that decision was made that it was going to be me. But she's very much involved with his life, and her and I have a great relationship. So it's not some kind of weird, no mom scenario. But I will tell you this: everything that you used to think was normal is now gone. And I know, my friend, listen, Doug, I know that you've spent 9 months thinking about this, and you've spent a lot of time thinking about how things are going to change. But let me tell you this: you have no idea of what change is really coming. But it's all 100%. Even the crappiest, nastiest things that you weren't expecting that are coming down the road, brother, they are all worth it, because there is absolutely nothing that ever is going to bring you more pleasure in this planet than little Doomer Jr. Yeah, I think that I got a little taste of it with, of course, the initial poop.
Yeah.
And green,
give us
black, all that.
Well, no, let's not go. That isn't the initial. I want to talk about the initial. You're there with see, when my son was born, we did it old school, right? Or not old school, new school. Hospital, epidural, the whole nine. I did get to sit on the little stainless steel chair and play catcher for a minute while he was crowning, as they say. Very, very cool experience. I absolutely love the fact that you guys went completely natural. And here's one thing that I know: it's a group effort. You and the missus made the child together. You guys made the decision together to go the all natural way. But really, this is a decision that the mom has got to make, because Doug is wonderful, and as it was to experience, you had to feel just like the pain that you had to see her go through is really, really hard to take, I'm sure. But give us the whole experience. Midwife, did you touch it was the crowning little head? Did you cut the umbilical cord? Give us the whole deal. Go.
All right. So my wife broke water, and she went to labor, took 30 minutes. He took a sweet time, or 30 hours rather, took a sweet time to get there. Yeah. And so
hours. Oh my God.
Yeah. But most of it was, passive. He was without contractions, and so
sure.
but you have to get it going. You have to get that thing going, because you have 36. This is the deal. You're on the clock. You have 36 hours, and if you don't have a child, you're going to the hospital. Period.
Wait a minute. These are questions.
Once your water breaks.
36 hours once the water breaks. So in most traditional births, right, the water will break. They're in a hospital setting. Sometimes they'll break the water. If the child isn't, if the contractions or the dilation isn't right, they'll start a Pitocin drip to make that happen. But that doesn't happen
only in a hospital.
Right, only in a hospital. So they don't do that. There's nothing.
They give you castor oil.
Yeah,
they give you castor oil. Yeah, they make it cramp up. That's what they do. They give you other. I know what they're. I know the name of it. I'm trying to think. It's like a herb. It's
marijuana.
No. There's other ways that they midwives kind of coax the baby and coax contractions, and you get going. You start moving. You start breathing. You start kind of getting your body moving. And so a lot of it's like going up and down the stairs. A lot of it during the labor. One of the cool things is they don't just strap you into a bed. You can move around to get into your most comfortable position. Whatever feels good to you. And so they're kind of a team, but you're doing this kind of on your own. You're really, we went to a bunch of classes that are all part of a package deal, and so basically, yeah, when it was time, I mean, basically, there was, I would say, just a few pushes, and voila, he was pulled out. I didn't pull him out. Immediately, they take him out. They put him onto the belly of the mother immediately to get that skin to skin. Okay.
Question. All right, in a traditional birth, which I've been involved, and Doug, pardon me, this is very, very interesting to me. I'm not asking this to be gross or to be, try to just keep the conversation alive. It's very interesting to me, this whole natural experience. The midwives, I don't know the level of their training. I'm assuming, obviously, you let your child be born with one, so there's got to be this high confidence level. But do they follow the same procedures as, or I shouldn't say procedures, the same guidelines as you'd find in a hospital where you have to be so many centimeters type of thing? Or do they just let nature do what nature's going to do before, or do they say, well, I want you to be at 10 centimeters before you start pushing, or that kind of thing?
No, it's kind of a depth thing. When they come in and your wife's contracting, and they can tell, and you're timing this, you're just writing down the times, right? And so you can tell when you're getting closer and closer, the contractions are coming, and then they come in, check you, they see where you're at. I mean, they do want you at whatever. I think it's 9 to 10 centimeters. That's where you need to be. But
right.
But when it's time, I mean, they can feel the head. I mean, he's almost crowning. It's right there. So you don't have to get out the ruler to figure it out. My wife's like, I can feel him, because when you're not, you don't have an epidural, you feel everything. You know exactly where he is. I mean,
yeah.
So you're getting the real deal experience. So when he's down, he's down there, and you notice it, because you have to. I mean, when you're doing it through the pelvis, I mean, the pelvis has to open up. So it's a different thing. I mean, there's no pushing it. You have to wait. You have to make sure that he's going to go through. Now, there's a lot of preventative aspects to this, because midwives don't want huge babies. They're hard to deliver. Sometimes they can't deliver. So there's a lot more nutritional aspect to the birth that has to kind of happen to make sure that you're within the parameters to even be able to do it. You can't have gestational diabetes. You can't be, if you're high risk, you can't do it. And they want you to do it in a hospital setting. So, I mean, there's a lot of pre-screening and evaluation before you even get to that point, before you're there. So, there's a whole team of them. I mean, they have people around the clock, but when it comes to the actual birth, and there's tons of them in training, and this is an actual center that it's very posh. It's like a hotel room. It's really, really nice. I'll send you some pictures. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's no secret. I don't mind plugging the place. If you go to austinabc.com or Austin Area Birthing, they actually, there was another baby 2 rooms over that was neck and neck with mine that was born just like 9 minutes beforehand. So it's really cool. It's a totally different experience. But it's interesting because people like my mother, who, let's see, she's in her mid-60s, in the 70s and 80s and 90s, midwiving and home birthing was heavily demonized. Good parents went to the hospital. That's where you wanted to have babies. You don't want to feel that. That's why you get the epidural and all of that. So it's kind of, there's been a renaissance of sorts when it comes back to this. So some of them, actually, one of the ladies, because in Europe and the rest of the world, midwives and birthing centers are pretty much standard, because to go to the doctor, it costs the government money. And so some of that, some of those social programs and benefits and national health care systems don't include birth. That's something that you do at home with a midwife or whatever,
Right.
So that's the norm. So several of them are from Europe, and they have different practices and protocols, but everything's monitored. They have all of the technology that you have in a hospital, except for they don't have drugs. They're not going to drug you. They're not going to give you an epidural. They're not going to use. They do have certain regulations. They're not going to induce. They're not going to, break your bag. If it's something like that, then they won't do it. So they always veer towards safety over, maybe your wants, because that's why a lot of the people, especially the moms there that we went to classes with, are there because this is their second child and they had a horrible experience in the hospital and they wanted an alternative, started looking on the internet just like we did, because you have to start considering all these things. Vaccines, okay, what's going to happen? Do you need a pediatrician? Do you really want to pay for this? Do you have Obamacare? Are you spending $600 a month on that? Is it cheaper just to go with the birthing center? So I don't mind sharing the story, but we took a personal risk. We didn't get insurance during that period. We saved up the money and paid I think it was only $3,000. And if you go to a hospital, look at that tally, cost of a baby, $30,000. That's a national average just to have one.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
So this is 10% of that. You do the math over a 9-month period, and you'll realize that if you're with the Obamacare exchange, you're going to spend a lot more money than you're going to pay out of pocket just by paying cash money to have your child born. So that's kind of rare. It's probably more rare than having a midwife is actually doing it without insurance, something that my parents and friends and just about everybody's like, you can't do this. Now, here's the downside. This is the risk. If we did have to go to the hospital and take a hospital ride, who knows what I would have had to come out of pocket with or for to pay that off. And I might have lost. But when we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, I mean, I'm not rich, Charlie McGrath. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars, $30,000 for a child. So,
and let's not scare anybody, because not that you're trying to scare anybody, but no. If there would have been a situation where, there's
that's just what I did. That's not necessarily what other, and they do.
No. What I want to say, if there was a very major complication at the birthing center, right? The whatever you said, ABC birthing or whatever, it's one thing about our medical system that the government wants to demonize ours to the point where we turn it into some kind of fascist socialized medicine. But the fact of the matter is, even if you didn't have a dime to your name and that all went horribly wrong, and you had no insurance, well, guess what? They're going to deliver that baby. You're going to go to the hospital, and they're going to take care of you. You might be sending them $50 a month for the rest of until little junior's ready to go to college. But you had backup, is what I guess what I'm saying. Even if you didn't have the money.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have money, I mean, you're not the first person to ever go to the hospital with a baby. I mean,
I love the fact that you did it this method, and I knew you were going to. I knew this for some time. You were going to do this, and I had given it a little bit of thought after you told me that. And I think maybe even in one of our conversations, it's like, you know what? Most people that have ever been born on this planet, the vast, vast majority, I guess if we're going to put a percentage on it, 90+% of the people that have ever been born on planet Earth, they never had Pitocin, they never had an epidural, they never had, the hospital experience that they could go do. So really, I would say the method you use is a traditional method. Of course, a modern day man would say that it's a archaic tradition that you're using, but the modern medicine is more of the non-traditional way this planet has given us to produce children or to deliver children. So, I thought that was very interesting. You're not really returning; you're kind of returning to traditional childbirth rather than this new modern technique of filling you up with drugs. And you know what? That's the way we did it. I'm not dissing that, and most people are going to do it that way. And seeing the pain involved for the woman, there's a point in my life where I thought epidurals was the greatest achievement man had ever made, because I saw my wife go from this hellish pain that was breaking my heart. Poor Charlie with a broken heart, but poor her screaming in agony to an epidural being put into place, and she was off to La La Land. So, it's not dissing either way, but I think it's really admirable.
I mean, there's definitely different. Not to step on you. I'm sorry. I was just going to say there's going.
Step away. You're a new dad. You have rights to step on people. Go.
Well, I mean, one of the different or one of the other aspects of doing it that way is that you feel everything, so you're less likely to rip the vag in two. Without being too graphic. There's a lot of other things that, regardless, I asked my wife, what did it feel like? How painful was it? And she's like, it's like having.
Did she grab your nuts? Did she grab your nuts and yank?
No, she said it's like having 50 bones broken all at once. And I was like, wow, that's,
God bless women, man.
But you can feel what you're doing, though. That's the difference. I mean, you go through the whole experience. And
this is what terrified me, Doug. The fact that there's a point of no return. You know what I mean? That would scare me more than anything. If you're laying there, the point of no return is, all right, you're feeling all these bones broken at once, is what you said. I feel like, but you can't put it back. It's got to finish. You got to finish this process, and that's kind of scary. You've reached this point, and it's only going to get worse until it's over, and a point of no return is reached. And
a lot of dads are going to be really upset, but my wife was great. She let me sleep through most of the labor. So I'm in the room, I'm in the suite, I'm sleeping. There's pictures of this. It's a testament to people will use this later against me. They're like, look at Doug. He's sleeping over there. His wife's birthing. She's, they have these big birthing balls. They're like yoga balls. But, there's a certain point in time. It's like, you better save. And that's why it's totally different. You need to save your energy. It's going to be a long haul. This is going to be a process. Whereas when you go into the hospital, hey, I've got a golf tea time at 9:30. We're going to pop it. We're going to cut it out. And we're going to, do this and that. And then, and I understand and looked into so much of the science and why it is that they do what they've done. And there's a lot of great documentaries. One of them, I want to say it's the birthing conspiracy. I hate to misquote it. But anyway, it looks at, basically the money aspect of it, the profits, the vaccine companies, all of the money that goes into, having a child. And by doing it this way, I mean, you really, you have so much more control over what happens. And
is there still a reporting requirement? I mean, is this center got to report to the government?
Well, this is the thing. They said, look, everything is optional, right? So you don't have to take anything. Not even, and we even went as far as the vitamin K, which they give all newborns, and it's because you start looking into the science. Well, 1 out of 100,000 kids had a brain hemorrhage. They had hemorrhagic fever or something, that happened. So you say, well, okay, we give everybody this, but you start looking at the ingredients, lots of heavy metals. So we actually went as far as to get the oral vitamin K and do those kind of things. So there's a lot of options when you do it like this, when you go through a center. And so that's what freaks a lot of people out. Oh my God, am I going to have to do this? What's going to happen? You can take the government does want to do genetic profiles, I guess. There's been lobbies with some of these different, groups that have pushed for genetic. Basically, it's looking for birth defects and other metabolic issues, and so that's optional. We did that. They might be databasing the blood, but the government's going to get your blood somewhere, and you have to make that decision. And they said you don't have to get a social security number. You don't have to apply. They give you the application. They'll file it for you. They want to know about your race. They want to know about your educational background. And so you can put.
So even though it's all natural, there's still an intrusive aspect.
Well, that's just the government.
But they're giving you the option.
Yeah, you don't have to do it, but basically the woman tells you the cautionary tale about the family that didn't do it, and they were not. I think they were European and they weren't planning on staying. They were going to be expatriating, or it might have been an American family, and they're like, "Hey, we're getting out of here. We're moving to Switzerland anyway. We don't need this." And what happened was, I guess plans fell through, and they decided, okay, well, we want our child to be an American citizen, and what you have to do after the fact is so intrusive. It's such a huge burden. Basically you have the option. You can walk away from the Matrix. You can take your child with you, and I don't know if you'll be able to fly out of the country without some kind of form of ID. You might be able to walk out of the country with a child in hand without an ID, but
I can tell you that
that's just what you have to it's an option, but what do you do with it, really? And I would love to be able to live in a world where I'm like, hey, you know what, son? You don't get the mark of the beast. You don't get according to 2012, $51,000 in debt. Now, see, that was really hard, and I had to break it down to him, and he's only a few days old, so he didn't quite catch on. but he actually owes $51,000 to the government for wars and social.
We need to get Junior out there working. He's got a bill to pay off.
He's got a lot of stuff to get. I mean, we're really behind the ball. But don't get your kid on those Baby Genius. Remember that stuff, the Baby Geniuses? I've also learned about the racket. This is this is the Graco racket. Everything's Graco. It's kind of like the Soylent Green Company when it comes to babies. Right. You find it everywhere.
Is it Graco or isn't it Craco? C-R-A-C-O?
Is it Craco? Or
I think it's Craco.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I remember the racket you're speaking of.
Yes,
but there certainly is one.
And so we bought somebody. I don't, some of the stuff was given to us. A lot of it.
Sweet baby Jesus, you're going to be carrying so much crap around.
We're foregoing the baby bag, and we got a Swiss Army backpack. We have a backpack. It's just smarter.
Okay,
2 arms instead of 1. We've been thinking about this, Charlie. Well, anyway, so I get the Craco. We have the baby monitor, and I'm playing with the thing, and all of a sudden I hear this cooing, and this is days before the baby's here, and I hear, I'm like, this is creepy. It's like I'm tapping into something. Lo and behold, I realize that I can hear the next door neighbor's baby monitor. I can hear the baby cooing, and and they're playing Disney cartoons in the background. And then it hits me. I'm like, well, if I use this thing, then if they go to channel, there's only 2 channels. They're on channel A. I go to channel B. They go to channel B. They're listening to my house. They're listening to my baby coo. And what happens if you accidentally hit the wrong button? Okay, you accidentally switch channels. You think everything's okay, and then you realize it's not okay because you're listening to another baby. Yeah.
Okay, I'm more sinister. I'm thinking what happens a few months down the road when old Doomer Doug and Mrs. Doomer decide that they are ready for a night out or at least a night home in peace. So Auntie Kindheart has taken little baby Doomer and you guys are having a nice little husband-wife dinner romantic evening, and the neighbors are listening in because they've decided to tune in to Baby Monitor B, and they're listening to all your escapades. I think you need to get rid of the monitor. I think you need to get your own frequency, buddy.
Well, I was given a Fry's gift card, and I'm like, well, what can I buy at Fry's? You get these things for Christmas. People give you a gift card. You're like, oh, great. Now I got to go shopping. There's nothing, that's in the range that you want. I'm an audiophile. I've got all sorts of geeky stuff here, but $50 doesn't get you far at Slave Mart these days. But I was looking at these Motorola encrypted rolling code 16-bit baby monitors. But then I look at the freaking transmission on this thing. It's 1.9 gigahertz. I'm like, well, do I want to fry the baby? Maybe I'll just take the baby. But we got this really cool bassinet.
Microwaved him.
Yeah, you're worried about safety, but you're microwaving your kids. Those are the kind of things that you have to kind of look at. It's unfortunate that you have to worry so much about it. And my wife,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm thinking of right now that of a couple thousand people that faithfully download Doomcast, I'm assuming there's a lot of single dudes who are 17 to 30 years old who right now, 18 minutes into this, are thinking, "Oh my God, would you shut up about they don't want anything to do with this conversation because it's just so completely out of their realm of understanding. Women too, for that matter. You could be young women out there that plan on never having kids, and this topic is just like fingernails on a chalkboard.
I've got information, man. New shit has come to light.
Indeed, it has. Once you cross that threshold, brother, there ain't no going back. And so I would say if this topic annoys you, there will be a day when new information comes to light, and it will be the most important thing in your world because that's, in fact, exactly what happens when you become a parent. That is now number one. Nothing else is important, including you to her or her to you, because it's now Junior who is going to be the focus of all attention, as it should be. So I am.
And the Doomer dog's not liking it. Actually, she loves him. Every time somebody comes to the house, she greets them. She barks at them, lets them know that, they need to watch out. She runs back to him, looks to make sure he's there. Then she goes about her business. So she's now like a century. She's doing a round, and so she feels more. But I can also tell that this is a competitor for food, and that she's like this thing. Whenever he starts really getting going there, wailing, she's like, I'm so out of here. Screw this. I don't want nothing to do with it. But she's been good. That was a big concern. I think
the doggy, Doomer dog.
Yeah, I think that's more.
I think Doomer dog will be best friend of baby Doomer pretty soon. I mean, that's usually the way it works out. Is they get very, very protective, and they at least that's been my experience. And people I've talked to, their animals become like, especially dogs, do end up becoming the protector of that baby. They are on top of it all the time if somebody's in that house.
Yeah, and she's a Staffordshire Terrier, so she basically looks like Petey from the Little Rascals. And back before people actually took pit bulls and other American bulldogs and started fighting them, they were actually considered babysitter dogs. Those are the dogs that you kept.
What kind of Stratford? What is it?
Staffordshire Terrier. Looks like a pit bull. Most people would call him, or her rather, a pit bull. Yeah, but they're terriers. So, anyway, point being is that people.
Jeez, they look ferocious.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some images of them now. Boy, wow, they do look like a pit bull.
Yeah, well, that's why I was concerned about it. You're like, oh my god,
How's their temperament in comparison to, I got friends
really
with pit
good to humans, really, really not good to any other animals that move. Okay.
What is one of these Stratford Terrier Doomer dogs weigh?
She's about 60 pounds. Yeah, about 60.
Okay, so they can do some damage if they wanted to.
Oh yeah. Contrary to popular belief, they don't have locking jaws, but she can lock onto things and like hang from trees. And she actually jumps up on our. We have a 8-foot privacy fence, and she jumps up and like pops over it and pushes it, down below her chest, and she barks at other dogs. So she likes to fence fight. So she's kind of she's a bully. She's a bully.
It sounds like you have her well socialized though with peeps.
Yeah, with people. Oh yeah, people love her. Please her anything. She's one of those. She loves to play. So you could teach her to do anything. She could. She's a working dog. You could make her a drug dog. You could make her, a cow dog. You could make her just about anything that you need, because they have that want to please, and they are always wanting to play. That's a recipe for.
Are you breeding this dog at all? Because I might want a little Staffordshire Doomer puppy myself.
No, and the thing is that they're really kind of frowned on because people bad ownership. Number two, it's really hard to own one. You have to pretty much own your own house, because most people consider that to be a dangerous breed, or what's the term? A scary breed.
Apartment complex. They're not going to let you have that dog. I get it.
Yeah, the apartment complex. Your landlord might not be cool with it. You can say that she's a lab mix or something, but they're not going to buy that.
No, I'm looking at pictures now. There's nothing lavish looking about one of these dogs.
Oh, that's a golden retriever. Yeah, no, it doesn't work. So so there's plenty of them, but they're not as popular as they once were. But around the early half of the 20th century, they were very, very popular breeds of dogs, and they can have. The problem is that over time they've been bred and have bad temperaments, and they basically became the boom box of a lot. The people that owned those big boom boxes in the 80s, right. That walked around, they now have pit bulls, and
it's kind of like now that the folks that are so just whipped into a frenzy over UFC that they have to wear the affliction shirt and have the all the tats all up and down, one side down the other. And I have tattoos, so I'm not dogging those people, but inevitably those are the same guys that you go to the gym and you walk past their truck and there's a 80-pound pit bull chained with a big old chain to a spare tire in the back of the truck, and you just see that type. It's a status more than anything. And I have friends with pit bulls. And it's and every one of them to a person has told me it's all about socialization, and their dogs are wonderful. They're wonderful dogs. They come in, they play, they're happy-go-lucky. It's the ones that are bought as a status symbol or because you want to look tough that don't get the right kind of treatment, that turn into bad apples, as it were.
They're like little human beings. They're very smart. They're smart as 4 to 5 year old toddlers. So for parents out there, they understand 250 to 500 words. They are very intelligent, and they pine on things. And if you leave them alone, it's just like you lock up a child in a room all day long, or you put a child in a room every time the door knocks. Somebody knocks at the door, you take the child, you put him in the room. After a while, you're going to hate that freaking door knock, and you're going to want to kill whatever's on the other side of it. So people that don't understand the intelligence of them and the fact that they are freaking strong. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with them. I mean, they're like having a children. I mean, when you have or a child in the sense that you have a lot of responsibility. Other dogs, people leave their little dogs off the leash all the time. And I'm walking around with my dog, and all of a sudden, your Chihuahua's trying to bite my dog. Now, if my dog bites your Chihuahua, because and I'm trying to. Well, no, I'm the bad guy because I'm the guy with the pit bull. Oh, you're the guy with that pit bull. You're that dude. You're that guy. Immediately, it doesn't matter. Right. I mean, you are. It's guilt by association, guilt by breed, and so there's a lot of. So you have to be an ambassador, and that's what I've always tried to do: is be an ambassador of the breed and show people how great they are and how smart they really are. But at the same time, they're a very serious animal, and you have to treat them as such. I say people, you can't just chain up a pit bull outside. It's going to turn into a vicious animal, a territorial, very protective, possibly dangerous animal. If you don't, I wouldn't even, if you're not willing to let them sleep inside and be part of the family, you probably shouldn't own one. If you're one of these people that are like, hey, I keep the dogs outside on the porch, they're always out there. Even that kind of casual dog owner, you don't want that breed.
Probably should own a cat at that point.
Yeah, you need a turtle or something else because they demand a lot of attention. And it was a big consideration. Look,
at least if you're going to, I don't want to say abuse, but neglect a dog with that kind of raising, with those kind of raising habits, then you should probably get one that can't scare the hell out of somebody. Get a little Boston Terrier or something.
Yes, I guess if you're going to be a neglectful owner, find a dog. And you have to. I guess with anything, you have to find a dog that's suitable to your lifestyle. If you get a blue heeler, and I had a red heeler, and he'd never seen a cow in his life, but he wanted to. He wanted to heal everyone. He wanted to spin around them, and so that's bred into him. And the second he saw a cow, he was all over it. It was game over. This is what he was born to do. That's when one of those examples where people say, "Oh, all animals have a clean slate. They learn from their parents." He didn't. He learned nothing about rounding up cattle, but he wanted to do it.
So that's bullcrap. There's stuff that they instinct. I have a border collie mix, and sorry about that. I have a border collie mix, and that dog has never, had 1 second of training when it comes to herding, and it'll herd if it's a little herd of sheep, which it has. It'll go right into that mode automatically. That try to herding that instinctual mode to get the herd on. Now, my little my little border collie mix, my little Doom dog has a built-in hatred for firemen and paramedics. We can get into that if you want to.
Just loud noises.
Nope.
When you have to get hauled off to the hospital, like this week.
Yep.
Yeah, enough about me. We brought life into this world. You almost touched death.
Well, there's got to be balance. There's got to be balance.
The yin and the yang of the Doomcast, my friend.
That's right. There's got to be balance on this Doomcast, just like there has to be balance on this planet. A life comes in, a life goes out. And little Doomer Jr. came in, and Doomer Veteran almost went out once again. And that was me over this weekend. And I could share that with you if you'd like, Doug Owen. I'm going to do a very brief version of it. I did last night. I put out a 48-minute video. Doug, and I don't know if I sent you a copy of that or not, but I certainly will. And it was more therapeutic for me. And I started the video out saying, look, blah, 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 Charlie, Wide Awake News, Rinse Radio Network, what I do every video. And I just said right away, this, I don't script any of my videos. Usually I'll have 3 or 4 bullet points that I'm going to cover.
No 3x5 cards, nothing like that?
Nope, no script, no monitor, no nothing. I'll just have bullet points. I'll see those bullet points and then talk off of them to the next one. And, I let folks know in this video, I got nothing here. This is all just coming out of my this is out of the heart. This is the situation I'm in. And then I wanted to morph it into why I want my fellow Doomers, in this case, I want my fellow Americans to consider the obligation that they commit to when they raise their hand to go into the military, That's if you're in that age where you could be considered military age, and certainly push parents who are going to have children in that military age, which if you're a parent eventually you're going to consider how you approach that with your child. I joke with my son and say that if he wants to go in the military, it's simple. I'm just going to chop off his left arm. I'll spend 10 years in prison, but I know he won't be out there, dying for bogus reasons. Of course, that's a joke. I would never hurt my child to keep him out of the military. It's a choice.
I remember something in the Bible like this. They we're going to cut a baby in half.
That was that story being you are a heathen, and I got to break all these Bible things down because you believe they're all myths.
Okay.
Heathen.
Fair.
That was Solomon and the wisdom of Solomon. Chop a baby in half because there was two people claiming ownership of the child, and when his solution was, I'm just going to sever this thing in two. I'll give you each half. Problem solved. And one of the folks spoke up right away and said, no, don't do it. She can have it. She can have it. And, of course, that told Solomon that the person who was willing to give away their child was obviously the real parent, and blasé. So that was that story. However, when it comes to my kid, if he decides, he's going to be 18 years old. He can do what he wants with his future. I hope and I think that he would make an informed decision. He's very, very well-versed in politics, and for 14 years old, extremely well-versed in politics and geopolitics, and has a voracious appetite for knowledge on the topic, probably because, he's been with me ever since this whole project has begun, and I'm talking all the way back to the Krabby Dog Tricks YouTube channel, culminating in Doomcast and Rinse Network and all that. But the point was, I sat down, put out a 48-minute video, cataloging, giving a chronological testimony of what I've been through over the last several years and why I'm giving up the path that I chose, which was treating it as just, whatever, midlife, get to that 40 age, and some people just develop adult onset asthma, and I'm going to have to deal with it, in the private sector, like a responsible person is going to do. And after 3 years of that, determining by the own words of my asthma specialist, who's dedicated his whole career into fighting asthma and other respiratory disease, when a person like that sits you down and says, Charlie, I got to be honest with you, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. I don't know what other course to take. We've done everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. I'm CAT scanned from head to toe. I'm on every medication. I have tried every medication you can think of. Sinus surgery. The list is. Let me just put it this way: the list is $100,000 long of the money that's been spent trying to control this disease. Well, a brother who is very fairly high up. I shouldn't say brother. I shouldn't say even a relative. I don't want to get him in trouble. So strike that. We'll say a very personal close friend who's high up in the Veterans Administration. He keeps me informed on what have been some of the ailments linked to Gulf War syndrome. And 10 years ago, the government wouldn't even admitted that it existed. And now they're at least acknowledging that there's something going on, and they're looking at veterans with these claims, and they're responding to them. And at least in a lot of cases, they're giving them the benefit of medical services that are free of charge to the veteran, and compensation to veterans. In some cases, these guys are 60, 100% disabled, and they can't do anything because of an ailment. And even though you're not ever going to get rich getting a VA benefit, it is certainly something that these guys have well earned. So, all that being said, my second, just under 2 months ago, I had an attack that was so severe, the worst I've ever had, and my son had to call 911 because I was turning ashen and I couldn't function. They came, they got me, they took me up to the hospital. I'm a very, very diligent student on what happens in these emergency situations. Mainly the reason is I want to avoid ever being in one again. But if I am, I want to know what the professionals are going to do, because in a lot of cases you can do it yourself and save, $10,000 trip to the hospital. So I did that on my first trip. I took close notes, or I took close examination of the after action review and the paperwork they sent me home with. And basically, it was, I showed up at the hospital. They knew I had done a couple doses of my nebulizer, which is the same stuff that's in a puffer, albuterol. And then at that point, they gave me this is on the first visit now. They gave me an IV with a steroid in it. They monitored me. I was there for about 6 or 7 hours, got it under control, went home. So I had a developed plan. If it ever occurred again to where I had such an attack that was so brutal, so debilitating, I would see the signs beforehand, which typically is you treat it in a normal way. You're going to take some your nebulizer, some puffs, and maybe even some prednisone to try to get it under control. If it didn't happen, get under control, I would get in the car while I still had the ability to function, drive to the emergency room, see if in the parking lot, if it would start to regulate and the attack would start to dissipate. Then you can just drive home, and it didn't cost you anything. But if you do have to walk in there, you save a $6,000 ambulance ride. Well, this attack started out the same way. The plan was in place. I went through 2 nebulizer solutions. I did my 60 milligram burst of prednisone. And for anti-pharmaceutical guys out there listening right now, look, the first half of this program was dedicated to the non-pharmaceutical way of doing things. And I'm all for that. Send me the magic herb that lets me mix it with my my ice cream and I'll be cured of this. I'm all over it. And trust me, I've tried everything. But there is cases, and Doug and I have spoke to this before, where modern medicine is a lifesaver. So anyway, back to my story. I take my nebulizer. I take the prednisone. I'm sitting there. It's not getting better. And I decide, okay, it is time to enable or to set into motion the save my life plan without spending a buttload of money to do it. And as I'm sitting there now in a 4-point stance on the floor, hands and knees, I'm thinking I can get to the car, I can drive up there, and I'll just walk in. It starts to take a turn for even worse. I try to stand up, I instantly black out, and back to my hands and knees. So in front of me is my backpack, and in my backpack at all times is an EpiPen. Now, for those of you who don't know, epinephrine is used for people who have allergic reactions. They save lives. It's kind of like a defibrillator. You can find them everywhere. And if you have allergic reactions to bee stings or to nuts or whatever the case is, a lot of times you'll be prescribed an EpiPen, because if you eat something you shouldn't or stung by something that you're allergic to, you can literally die in very short order if you don't get some epinephrine in you that breaks that inflammation attack. And it's used in a lot of cases as a treatment, not a treatment, as a stopgap in an asthma attack. I've had epinephrine before because of attack, but it was in a clinical setting where I had a doctor and a nurse that did not leave my side when this epinephrine was administered to me, and were sitting there explaining to me, your heart is racing, but it's working. Don't panic. Don't freak out. That scenario, that epinephrine dose in a clinical setting is not comparable. It is not training. You don't understand what's going to happen the same way if you do it at the end of a 4-hour asthma attack. Because I've developed techniques over the 3 years to keep my heart rate down, to keep my breathing under control, to maintain calm so I don't add anxiety on top of an asthma attack, because anxiety for people is not healthy, period. If you have a panic attack, Doug Owen, because you're about to speak before a big crowd, that's not healthy for you, but it's not going to kill you. If you're an asthmatic, it can literally, if you have an asthma attack coupled with an anxiety attack, anxiety turns into something that is bad for most to deadly for you. So when I gave myself the epinephrine, the EpiPen, my heart went from probably about 110 beats a minute to well over 200 beats a minute. This process lasts for probably 5 or 10 minutes for it to clear out of your system. But it completely broke down any self-control that I had. I didn't have a doctor sitting there. I didn't have a nurse sitting there. I had nobody sitting there, actually. Trixie, my Doomer dog, was the only living thing around me that could give me any kind of comfort whatsoever. The breathing went out of control. I was hyperventilating, asthma attack, panic attack, anxiety attack, the real clinical name for it, all happening at once, blacking out even when I'm in this position where I can typically get air in and out. I managed to make it to the cell phone and call. Excuse me, I gotta I'm weeping here. Hold on.
So you're weeping.
Sorry, I'm a little cold I got going on here. The sinus infection.
There you go.
I feel mellower already. So I crawl to my phone where it's plugged in. I pull it down with the charging cord. I dial 911. Old Brett, who answered the phone, he had my address, obviously, because it came up on their screen. And I was trying to get out to him, what was going on. I think asthma is the only thing I got out. Obviously, they have a record that they've shown up here before. They sent the paramedics on the way. The firemen were here first, and he sat there and consoled me. The dog going batshit crazy at this fireman because he's, here I am. His owner is on the ground, can't breathe. And, this fireman's in here. So obviously it's his fault. Paramedics show up. They take me up to the hospital. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the plan worked. It just, I was too slow in implementing it because by the time I was in the ambulance, the prednisone was pushing an hour and a half since it had been taken. So it started to do its job. The major problem at that point is I was still under a lot of anxiety from this racing heart rate. And that was very, very difficult for me to bring it down a notch. And the paramedic, I still can't figure out if I hate him or love him, was using some kind of bizarre tough love medical technique on me, telling me, I hear air going in your lungs, you're breathing, stop, you need to stop panicking, you need to calm down, you need to settle down. And I literally wanted to just punch him square in the face because he wouldn't quit yelling at me, but it did cause me to focus on something other than my breathing. And by the time I got to the emergency room, basically from being a stage red alert 10 level attack, it had migrated back down to about a 5. And I didn't require any further treatment at the hospital because by the time the doctor came in, I gave him the whole laundry list of what I've already put into my body, and we just monitored it and got my heart rate back down to under 100 and my oxygen level from 84 where it started, which is life-threatening, to over 90, which is more in a normal perspective. So this whole long story, the ambulance ride, I'm going to get a bill for $6,000 for the ambulance ride. My emergency room visit is going to be fairly limited because they really didn't do anything except hook me up to a machine and monitor me for a couple of hours. But it was as close, it was very scary, the first one, right? But I still had my son here, and I still had a human being there with me that was monitoring, watching over me. But it was still very scary. But this weekend's attack, without a doubt. And Doug, I've been through a lot of crap. I've been in a combat zone. I've been shot at. I've seen people shot. I've seen their heads explode from 50 cal rounds hitting them in the head. I've traveled down the Al-Khafji highway with tens of thousands of dead all around you. I've been in some very, very anxious situations, including multiple chemical detectors going off in a war zone. A lot of anxiety I've been through in my life. I've been in a lot of pain in my life. I have a very long list of boxing fights that I've done throughout my life. So I'm not afraid of pain. I'm a marathon runner. This is what I used to do. I'm used to pain, and I'm used to anxiety. Nothing has ever come close to what I experienced Saturday night. It was horrifying. It was beyond painful. It felt like I had knives shoving into my chest. And it was a very, very, very scary situation.
I mean, is there anything that you've ever noticed like that seems to trigger it? Like a specific food or, I mean, obviously I'm asking stupid questions here. I'm just curious as to, symptoms, things like that.
Yeah. Well, there are. I mean, first of all, again, to start this whole process 3 years ago, I was stuck with the allergy test, which if you've had that before, they shove 100 needles into you, and each needle has a little bit different, grass or dander of animals, or so just a test to see if you'll have. It's called a scratch test, I think, to see if you have any allergic reaction to whatever they're giving you. And the answer is no. I'm not allergic to anything in the spectrum that they tested me for. It was found out later that I have an allergic reaction to NSAIDs. NSAIDs are aspirin is an NSAID. Ibuprofen is an NSAID.
Right.
And that's something that I developed because in my running days, I used to pop ibuprofen like candy. I mean, you take a bunch of ibuprofen before a long run to help prevent inflammation during the run, and then after it, you're popping it like Pez to get the pain down. But somewhere along the line, I developed an allergy to that. So an NSAID will send me off to an attack, but it's not like an asthma attack. It's more of an airway, your throat and your esophagus closing down. So there's no food, or there's no dander, or there's no pollen that sets me off. Again, it puts me into that weird category of it's kind of like asthma, but it's kind of not like asthma. However, this is a fact. If somebody in my office has a cold, and I get that cold, and it's a cold now, I'm not talking the flu, I'm not talking a sinus infection, I'm talking a common cold. If I catch that cold and I don't get rid of it right away, within days, it inevitably will jump into my chest, and I will have asthma attacks from it. Typically, and I've had hundreds of them, hundreds and hundreds of them. But typically, I can remedy it myself. Usually, the smartest thing for me to do is to take the first couple days off, a day off of work, sit home, doctor up as much as I can, and try to fight it and get over with, and then just go back to work and things are normal. Maybe a little attack here and there, nothing I can't handle. Sinus infections are a different story altogether. If I get a sinus infection and I do not get it cleared up immediately, and I'm talking 48 hours, if I don't get the proper antibiotic to kill it, it is going to go to my lungs, and it is very, very dangerous for me. In both cases that I've taken an ambulance ride, it's been on the heels of a sinus infection, of which I still have right now. You just heard me clear my nose. So sinus infections for me, they start just like everybody else. It's just in my sinuses, but it migrates very rapidly into my lungs and causes bronchial issues. It causes a lot of extra production of mucus, and if it goes to there, I'm in trouble. And then that's when you start a new battle or a new regimen of prednisone, ever increasing doses. Very dangerous to be on it long term, but it'll keep me from having these massive attacks like I did Friday. And in fact, Thursday of last week, I knew that this sinus infection had spread to my lungs. I took the day off work. I went into my doctor, and for normal people, they'll give you a Z-Pack, or maybe they'll give you a different kind of antibiotic to get on. And this was urgent care where I went, where I know all the doctors in there, and one of them is my favorite, and I wish to God he had his own practice outside of there. He wasn't working that day, because I can talk to him and say, listen, Dr. S., I've got this sinus infection. Give me the penicillin right in the hiney, because it's very powerful, it's very potent, and it works for me. But this doctor wasn't working, and I had to go to this other doctor. I asked him for the shot and explained to him why I wanted to go that route, and he did not agree with my medical expertise, so he put me on.
Hey, wait! You're not an expert. I'll be the judge of that, buddy. Okay, don't just start barking orders at me like you know what's going on with your own body.
That's exactly right. And this is what I found with doctors, folks.
Make them feel like they're right. Okay, make it feel it's just like like a stubborn wife or husband. Make them feel like it's their idea.
The younger the doctor, the younger the doctor, or physician's assistant, PAs, because they're almost the same thing. They can do your prescriptions and all that kind of thing. Especially if you're going to someplace like an urgent care or general practitioner. The younger the doctor, the more they're going to listen to you. The older the doctor, and especially, I mean, he walked into the room, and my senses are telling me this SOB, he is thinking right now, how many more years does he got to work before he can retire to Boca, right? How much more does he have to do before he could get that 30-foot yacht paid off and get out of the practice? So he didn't give a crap what I had to say. He looked at my chart and saw I had a sinus infection. He was going to do what he was going to do, and all the begging in the world for something that was extraordinary in his mind, getting a shot of penicillin to clear up an infection, was absolutely not going to happen. So at the end result, I thought I beat it Thursday, but I didn't, and it came back Friday with a screaming vengeance that left me seeing the light, buddy, walking into the light. Sweet Jesus, I'm coming home. And, Mom, scoot over, make me a spot. I'm coming to see you. But fortunately, it worked out.
And to think, I was actually contemplating. I was like, oh, man. Because one of the things my good buddy, Dan, who is the godfather of my son, one of the things I tasked him with that I think you have to do is you have to buy cigars. It's customary. And I'm like, okay, I got to send one to Charlie McGrath. And I just thought about this. And I'm like, you don't want a Macanudo cigar at all.
Yes, I do. I'm not. That's one thing that doesn't say I'm not. See, this is.
So you can be around a cigar. Have
absolutely.
One, really.
Absolutely. And this is the thing that, and it was the reason for that 48-minute video, which was explaining I've explored everything in traditional private sector medicine and the things that make what I have different, which has left me with the something I should have done a long time ago, which is, and that's just the other thing that's annoying to me at this point. Doug, this started on air. This started 3 years ago when I had a program on the Rinse Network. It started while I had Wide Awake News, and I have at least 100 emails on the topic of people saying, dude, that knew I had prior military service, you need to, the Gulf War thing. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that something I did 2 decades ago, could have been the cause of where I'm at now. But that's exactly where I'm at now. Instead of, I should have done that first. And then if that didn't pan out, then go on to the traditional.
Well, the problem with Gulf War though, is that, what does that mean? I mean, it could be any kind of chemical factory that was blown up. It could be the actual, weapons and munitions that Schwarzkopf blew up. It could have been, we all saw the fires, or if you're old enough or watched the video, we watched them burn all these chemical weapons, and guys didn't even have breathing apparatus.
That's right.
Anything, any kind of. So is it that? Is it asbestos? Is it from the damaged buildings? That's the problem with wars, that you create this toxic suit. And timely enough, looking at DuPont and Monsanto and Agent Orange, now they're finding out that it's giving people cancer during the peacetime, not just during war, and that it goes on and on and on. So, who knows?
As you well know, I have here about 10 minutes ago, I have a phone conference with my well-placed connection in the VA, and we're going over forms that I have to bring to my doctor tomorrow. But I will say this, everything you just mentioned there, the who knows what the hell it could have been thing, I put this into a video, and the name of the video is Realize You Will Kill and Will Be Killed or Suffer for Human Trash. That's the title of that video, and I'll link it to this Doomcast. It'll be down in the more information area, so you can watch it out. You can check it out for yourself. But the things that you just listed there are just the tip of the iceberg of things that I remember that were very, very bizarre when I was in the Gulf War. So if you want to hear some of the things that happened that could be leading to situations developing later in your life, chronic situations, please check out that video. And then please share this Doomcast with people who are about to become parents or thinking, if you're thinking about it, or people who are, send it to them, because I think the first half of this Doomcast number 29 is excellent information on why you may want to go the birth wife way, or may you might want to go the traditional medical way. I hope everybody decides for the first of those two options. Or if you have a friend or a family member or somebody you care about that's beating the drum of patriotism over this bullcrap war on terror, send them that video that's linked to this one, because I'm not blunt in saying you're throwing your life away for Monsanto or for Halliburton, but I do believe it makes a good case on why
Charlie will cut your hand off if you send your kid to war. Period.
I'll set your kid's hand off. I don't want them to go to war.
Oh.
I won't cut the parents' hand off. I'll slap them upside the head.
Okay.
But
all right. As long as we know what the rules are, ground rules.
The rules are don't do it. Just the whole rules are, and this goes with the beginning of this Doomcast and the end of it has the same exact message, which is you are responsible to think for yourself. You got to think for yourself. If you follow the status quo or you follow the propaganda, inevitably it could put you in a situation that you're going to plead ignorance 2 years down the road, but you can't right now. If it's so important that you're having a child, you need to know what is involved in that, regardless of what method you take. If you're thinking of signing on the dotted line to serve your country, you need to make sure that your country is going to be there to serve you on the back end of that commitment. So very important to think for yourself.
Absolutely, and support independent media that allows you to think outside of the matrix, outside of the box, doesn't push propaganda or products onto you during the program. So consider supporting the Doomcast, everything that Charlie and I do to put this together. When there is doom, gloom, and even this week some bloom, some yin and yang. Wednesday we're going to definitely hit up the Ukraine. That situation is getting more interesting. I'm chomping at the bit to talk about geopolitics, but just to add to what you were saying, I mean, it was a huge concern to me and my wife, thinking about vaccines, looking at the options. What are we forced to do? What are our really the opportunities that we have with bringing a child into this world? So there's a lot of really awesome stuff that is happening now that was really out of most people's reach. And so you post questions in the comments section, and I'll do my best to answer them on this one as well. And I know we're not going to wait till next Sunday to do our Doomcast, obviously, this week. I am back in Las Vegas Tuesday night, Doug, for another convention down there. I don't care whatever I have to do, either Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night. Let's get this Doomcast out. And I have people who have donated to the Doomcast that don't we have some people to thank? We do have people to thank, but what I'm going to do is compile this list and bring it to the Doomcast on the Wednesday night or Thursday night show this week, if that's okay with you. No, that's fine. I want to quickly thank Agnes, James, and Luis for making contributions, and especially you, Agnes, for giving so generously for the firstborn of the Owen tribe. $100,000? Are you serious? No, not quite. Not quite. I would have thanked her at the beginning of the show. This would be a tribute to her and all the things that I'm going to do with that money throughout my child's life. Agnes hour. Yeah, this would be the endowment for Agnes. But no, I mean, very, very generous, and we're just very blessed. And I want to thank all the people that continue to support the Doomcast. Even when we veer away from the doomy topics, people I hear this all the time. They're like, well, I don't like all of the personal stuff. Boring. You go to blacklistednews.com, go to wideawakenews.com, tons of news topics. And if you send in your talking points, people do often, those make their way to the show. Those become part of the conversation. So if I do want to hit on a couple things. I got to now that you started talking about that. And while you were talking, I pulled up a couple. I pulled up my PayPal page here. Avery, thank you very much, $10. Jason, thank you very much. I think that was a $20. Yes, it was. And Craig, thank you very much. Sending support to the program. I believe that was a $20 one as well. And guys, if you had a donation since that video last night, and I think some of these are coming from that and from the Doomcast last week. If you didn't hear your name mentioned, I will go through this and get you. I promise that you all get you mentioned on the next Doomcast coming up, because it's, like Doug said, it's very important. We greatly appreciate. Obviously, we're not doing this for the $200 that we've got in doing since we've conceived Doomcast. That's obviously not the reason, but it does show support, and we greatly appreciate it. And trust me, this money is going. We use this money; it goes right back into equipment or something else to further our endeavor in doing Doomcast. That being said, God, I'm running way over tonight, and it's my own fault, Doug, so I can't yell at you. I did try to do a little bit of humoristic, is that a word? I just made it up. Some short clips of the last Doomcast. I did that for a specific reason. I did it because I have emails once in a while, and Doug, I'm sure you do too as well, saying, damn it, boys, I don't have an hour. I don't have an hour and 10 minutes to sit down and listen. And you know what? I sympathize with that, because I don't either. It's hard for us to do the show. I mean, obviously. Right. And if I see a video I mean, if you ever see me make a video over 8 minutes, I'm usually apologetic in it over that fact because I know that it turns a lot of people off. And if I see one that's an hour and a half long, I got to start thinking of special time to set aside to try to listen to it. So because of that, I grabbed a couple of what I thought were funnier chunks out of our last Doomcast. One was on I can't remember now. The preppers, The preppers, yeah. And the other, did you watch the other one I did, Doug? Yes. Okay, that was on. What was that on? I don't even remember. I've got it right here.
Sean White. That was what it was. And I thought they were funny. I thought they were hilarious. And I spent, one of them was 3 minutes long, one of them was 4 minutes long. And I was putting pictures to go with the conversation. It takes me 1 hour, 40 minutes to do 1 minute of editing for those videos.
That's how bad we are. That's how horrible this is.
That's how horrible. And so I put them out there thinking, yeah, people are going to get a kick out of this. And I'll be fair, most of the people that watched it loved it. But oh my God, I took so much crap over the one about preppers that I almost pulled the video. But then I thought to myself, you know what? Guys like Craig, I'm thinking now, Craig, who had the donation, he got it. And he was one of the first commenters that did, that it was tongue-in-cheek humor. Yeah. There was not one word that Doug uttered or I uttered denigrating people who decide they're going to become full-on preppers. We never slammed anybody. I listened to the damn thing more times to make sure that what I'm saying is true. We never made fun of people that were preppers. We never said it was a bad idea. We never said that it was foolish endeavor. Nothing could be further from the truth. The whole conversation was how difficult it was to get off the grid. That was the whole segment. That got a little bit funny when we were talking about McDodge and the up in the Northwest and the camera team following around. But man, there was people that just went BS crazy, thinking we were bad mouthing preppers, which is comical because I've done shows on my radio program with hardcore preppers. And I have all the respect in the world for them. I've supported prepping for years and years. And Doug, I know you've done the exact same thing. So my guess, my message is this, I'm going to continue to do it because I put the question out there. Do you want me to? And a lot of people said, yeah. So I'm probably going to try to grab a clip, a small 3-minute or so clip from each Doomcast and put it out in some kind of way that's a little bit humorous. But you know what? Some people just have thin skins, and I'm not going to please everybody. But geez, give me a break, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you take it too literally, I mean, the point really was that if you're trying to get off the grid, you have to think about how you're doing that and what information you're putting into the grid. You don't have to put information into the grid. You don't have to have a Facebook. You don't have to give yourself a digital footprint. But
right.
At the same time, there's a difference between people that want to camp out or camping fanatics and aficionados. I mean, right. I have storable food in my garage. I've got 2 years worth, so it's not that I think it.
I have an AR-15. I have 1,500 rounds of ammunition. I probably have 40 different guns. I live in Montana. I've done bad weather training when I was in the military. Look, I am. I don't advertise.
You could have the tattoo. You could be almost State Department approved prepper. You could be on a list. You're just good enough to be on a list.
You're damn right I am. And here's the deal. Doug, you know it and I know it. This community is very, very fickle, right? This community is very, very fickle. If you touch on something that grates a nerve, you are dog meat. And I have one guy say, I have followed you for 3 years. I loved your work. I can't believe you turned code on us. I saw the video you put out about being in Las Vegas and how you were drooling over the luxury in your room. I am unsubscribing from you. I'm unsubscribing from anybody you're associated with. You suck. I hope you burn in hell. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty.
No, I mean, look at Doomsday Preppers. I mean, it's a perfect example of demonizing and going after people that want their own sovereignty and independence, and those that dare question the law, nullification. They're labeled anarchists. They're labeled people of interest. They're part of the I'm trying to think of the community that they go after. They have one of those terms, whether you're a birth or a prep all those other than lover. There's an ER attached. It's usually bad, but the sovereign citizen movement, and they try to equate that to being part of the, white supremacist, white national, far right-wing nationalism. And, it's a great way to pigeonhole people. But the point being is that we shouldn't do it to one another. You shouldn't pigeonhole other people that do care about freedom and the freedom to let you think what you want. I mean, that's everybody wants freedom, but the hard part of that is allowing other people to have those same types of freedom. So I think you and I both have, on a political level, a pretty libertarian philosophy for the most part.
I do too.
I mean, and believe you me, I mean, I was raised in Texas. I lived in a gun culture. It wasn't prepping. It was just life. When I was a kid, my grandmother, they had a cow and they had milk, and they would, milk this cow in the morning. And, when I was a little kid, she would warm that up on the gas stove. So, I've seen both sides of that, just to kind of give a little background. It's not to say, oh, well, what were you doing? But in the early 80s, I mean, my parents and my grandparents were still living in a pretty prepackaged world, which is what I think a lot of people, especially, the gardeners and the preppers and a lot of these groups that kind of commingle. It's interesting. I mean, the ecology of the alternative media, because you have those that are interested in alternative medicine. You have different niche websites dedicated to that, alternative health. Those are usually heavily intertwined with prepping and other, libertarian.
Well, the notion that this is what frosts my flakes here, right?
Okay.
The notion that you or I, if anybody listening has any peripheral knowledge of Doug Owen or Charlie McGrath, I mean, type in our name, Google our name, and see what comes up, right? It's years and years and years of trying to deliver independent media that is a broad range of topics. So to attack us because, an attack coming because you misunderstand or you can't see the humor in anything, even if it is on these hot button topics that are in this community, man, that's on you, right? I dedicate a very large portion of my life for free to getting this message out and to hosting a website and radio program and Doomcast, and Doug does the exact same thing. We do this because we believe in the same causes in most cases that you believe in. So to attack because something flipped a switch in you because you thought we were making light of something that you believe deeply in, we were making light of the fact of how difficult it is to get off the grid. But that's absolutely
and pointing to how the Hollywood media types are trying to compromise and create this faux prepper media and faux prepping. I mean, that's really what it is. You've got a person there that's pretending to be a prepper who's probably really not a prepper. He's tweeting all day long. I mean, just to go through the whole bit that we went through, the point is that, he's the bad ambassador to prepping. Not Doug Owen, Doomcast, or Charlie McGrath.
How about a bad ambassador to being prepper, to being all out, dyed in the wool prepper? Is if you have the ability to listen to check it out on the computer and leave a snarky, horrible comment, guess what? You're on the grid just as much as I am or anybody else is. I mean, but the whole point wasn't that you're a fool for trying to. That wasn't the point.
No. Not at all. I think that really,
and I think it was Craig. Craig, I apologize. Craig, I hope I don't get this wrong. I'm a little loopy right now, but I'm hoping that I don't get this wrong when I say I think it was Craig, the same one who sent us a nice donation, $20 donation for our efforts here.
Craig Simpson, he's awesome.
Oh, you know him? Okay. Is he in Costa Rica? Is this our buddy? Don't say his last name. Quit saying last names.
No, it's on his profile, or maybe it's a different Craig. I mean,
okay.
It's on his profile.
Anyway, somebody who watched that video clip enjoyed it, and intelligently wrote me an email or wrote me a message saying, you know what, Charlie, you're right. It's hard to get off the grid, but some people can go to different levels and make it happen. And in his case, he's living in Costa Rica or somewhere in the – I'm blowing it, man. I'm giving names out. Look, his phone number is –
latitude, longitude, his social security number.
Yeah. The point is that he made a very intelligent case, what he did. That man is a prepper. That man – he is an American who got out of this country, went to a place where he could take care of himself and his family, sent me pictures to prove it, and invited me to come down. And you know what? I told him in response is, you better be careful with those offers because it very well could happen. So
he called me an airhead. I can't remember what it was that he disagreed with me on. But
he's so right. He's so right. You are an airhead, but you're my airhead.
Oh, well, I mean, my heart's in the right place, right?
Doug Owen, I want to congratulate you on the most impressive thing you have ever done in your life, which is make Little Doomer Jr. I could not be happier for you and Mrs. Doomer. Your real life is about to begin, and I'm very, very, very excited for you. I think it also sends out a message to the people listening to the Doomcast that you and I are not looking to cower away and get underground and the world's coming to an end, and we're not going to look to the future with any kind of joy. because things like this give me it gives me hope that we will march towards, freedom once again, and we will turn things around and make it into a better country and a better planet. And there is no motivating factor bigger than Doomer Jr. So congratulations on that. Say congratulations to your missus. Train your dog to defend that kid with its life. And I can't wait to hear a little more Doomer stories because they're coming, folks. Little baby's out of the chute now. We all know what happens.
We're not going to turn the show into a Paul Reiser sitcom. No, I mean, it's not going to go to that level. And you know what?
I love the fact that right now, Doomer Jr. is giving you 18 hours a day of sleep, my friend, because in very short time, that ain't going to be the case, and you're going to be getting up to the wee hours of the morning. And, one more thing. You can forget about going out to dinner as a family unit if you want to keep your sanity, that is, from the ages of about 1.5 years old to that little guy is about 6 years old. Every experience in a restaurant is going to be a living hell, unless you don't mind.
For the other patrons as well. I mean, more so for them. I'm paying money to listen to this kid. Oh, yeah.
If you don't have a problem with coffee creamers being ripped open and thrown across the restaurant, Doug Owen, if you don't have a problem with it, you're triple B fine. It's the other patrons that are going to be dealing with little Junior.
Oh yeah, I'll spare him. And the flights, international flights, I'll spare him with that and the TSA.
Yeah, and it's so amazing to me that I catch myself when I fly a lot for work, and some of them are China, right? That's an international flight from hell. But I find it, it doesn't take long to get out of that mode, like where I had a little doomer that was a little rabble rouser and caused discomfort for people. When they used to get mad, I would think to myself, man, haven't they ever have kids? Don't they understand? And it's amazing to me how quick I lose sympathy because now it's like, take that kid home. They don't have to be here.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, you should be considerate. Just because you're a parent, you shouldn't be a D.
Kid. Awesome. It's awesome to watch them get out of control. It's awesome to watch them, living, because, they're having fun. They're having their little kid life going on. So congratulations. I can't tell you how happy I am for you guys. And I can't tell you how happy
Charlie
I am
McGrath, for being alive for your son and continuing to be a father. That's important as well.
It is. And I'm pretty partial to that keeping alive thing. Honestly, I there's a very good chance of whatever I have. And in that video I put out, again, attached to this one, I promised that I would take the audience, not on Doomcast, so it's not going to be all about VA Doomcast. The Doomcast is going to continue what it is. It ain't going to be all about kids. It ain't going to be about asthma. But I did promise on my channel that if you're a veteran and you're interested and you're concerned at all about ailments or dealing with the VA, my whole entire process is going to be videoed. Everything, guys. I'm going to give you the whole skinny on how to process a VA claim, the fast way to do it versus the slow wait 2 years way. And including talking to the doctors and the whole 9 yards. I'm gonna present it to the audience. So
we need Google Glass. We need Google Glass. If you have one, donate it to Charlie McGrath. That way we can do the mini doc.
My God, I never even thought about that. That's absolutely right. Because right now, tomorrow, I'm smuggling a little flip cam into my pocket so y'all can enjoy.
We need a budget for these kind of mini documentaries. Come on, people. Come on, people. Help us out.
To Craig and Tony and Avery and the other great sponsors of Doomcast, we're getting there. So my name is Charlie McGrath. My website is wideawakenews.com. I am the co-founder of Doomcast.com. Doomcast number 29 is now in the books. My co-host, new father, is Doug Owen. His site is blacklistednews.com. We will talk to you guys again Wednesday or Thursday from Las Vegas on my end. Doug Owen, I'm going to say congratulations on being a dad.
Thank you, Charlie McGrath. My son is not a Mason, contrary to what Charlie may have said in other videos. And until Wednesday, just in a few more days, we'll be back with Doomcast number 3030. So until then, take care.
Peace out, y'all.